Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Notion Live. Today, we are talking about Notion automations, and I hope we will make this session practical by also showing you some of the examples of most common automations that we actually use. Hi, Marianne, and welcome to our live. To anyone else watching, hello. Feel free to leave a comment. Very happy to have you here. I'm not alone today. I have a guest with me. So, introducing now Sylvain. Hi, Sylvain. How are you?
Hi, Sanja. I'm fine. Thank you for the invitation.
You're most welcome. I saw that you were writing about automations on LinkedIn, so I thought it's a good topic to also discuss it here. How often do you actually use automations? Is it something that you use every day?
Yeah, I have a couple of automation on my business. So they run like a lot of things about my business, and I think it's really important for me because when I can see there is like some improvement on my process or my business, and I need to do some repetitive tasks, I'm asking myself if I can automate. So this is like a new philosophy of life, to see where
Yeah.
you can find some improvement about your business, about your even your life. So sometimes you do some repetitive task with no added value. So yeah, it's
How
about.
did you begin with this? I mean, do you remember when was it the first time that you actually automated something? What's your background here?
That's a good question. So, my background. So, I will explain a little bit my background. So, I graduated as a industrial engineer. So, I used to work like in a manufacturing, and I learned a lot about continuous improvement. So, it's everything about Toyota and stuff like this. How you can improve like processes and stuff. So, I think it merged like from there. There was like some how you can improve, how you can automate, but thinking about your root cause, like not just automate for automation. It's like if there is some added value, or if these things will be better for you or for a process and thing. So yeah, and I think the first time I try like automation, it's maybe like 10 years ago, when I tried like some chatbot. So now everybody talking about, chatbot, AI and stuff. But like at the beginning, chatbot, like in the customer service, was just a bot. And you have like different like path, and you can automate some different thing. So I used to work for a company, and we needed like to, deflect some tickets. So we created like a bot, and it was kind of automated because when you send it like a customer number, you can have like a different answer and all this is.
Yeah, nice, nice. I started actually with Notion a couple of years ago. Do you still remember Automate IO?
Yeah, before it was make before.
Yeah. No, Make was Integromat.
Oh yeah,
But
sorry, yeah, sure.
Automate IO was actually something different. And that was my entry into automations. And I really started to love it. And then they shut it down. So I was so angry then because I've had all those setups there, everything workflows, and then they decided to shut it down. So then I took a pause, and for some time I didn't use anything, but then I came back.
Yeah, I think it's like a really good question about like, privacy and ownership of your automation. So we will talk about like a lot of tools, like we just said, like a Make or Automate.io, and they are private companies. So you don't own your automation.
Mhm.
There is a company they can host your automation. So you need
Yeah.
to be careful. So about that. So if you want to work for a company and they have like a privacy, and they need some, you can create like your own setup, like on local or on server based. And yeah, this is a question. So
I agree. Just to say hi to people watching here. Hi, Jerome. Hi, Marian again. Chloe, very happy to have you here. If you have any questions for either Sylvain or for myself, do let us know. Okay, so Sylvain, you're the first person ever I hosted that came as a guest to my life that actually prepared a presentation. So this is the first time for me actually. So I will open it because don't want it to go to waste. And I think it's a great thing because this is something that I very much agree with. You wrote here, think before you automate. And in my experience, I've seen so many people saying, oh, you have to automate this, you have to automate that, you have to automate everything. And they say it's just 5 minutes and then it saves you, like, I don't know how many years. But I think that's not true because I really think every automation should be very well thought through and you shouldn't rush it. What's your stand on that?
yeah, that's a basic thing. You cannot automate something that you don't know how does it work. So you need to be sure how does it work and if it's repetitive. So don't try to automate, like, as I can say, like a build task, and there is like recurrent task. So building task you cannot really automate. I don't know, building task is gonna open like a new services for your company, or create like a new product. It's a lot of things, and you cannot repeat that this kind of process, and it's a creative task as well. It doesn't mean like creative it cannot be like automate, but this kind of task, building task, cannot be automate, and they are not, it's not a good thing. But like recurring task, like I don't know, create like a LinkedIn post every day, or maybe to run like a report like every month to your director. It's kind of this automation. You know what is like the output of this process, and you know the input all the time. You need some data, and you need the output is like a beautiful report, and you know how to put like your numbers. So this kind of thing, you have to think about that. Is that my task is repetitive task, and can I do I know do I really know like the process, what is like the input of the data input and the output data, and what is the process, what do I need to do on step 1, step 2, step 3. And after you can say, okay, it might be worth it, like to try some automation on this.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm very much for automation and for AI. It's not like I'm against it, but I think if we overdo it, we kind of lose sense of what we are actually doing here. I mean, manual work, in my opinion, yes, we are trying to avoid the manual work as much as possible. But I still think that for some parts of your work, you do have to do the manual work to feel that what you're doing and to get a better sense of it. I think it still makes a difference.
Yeah, true. We've always forget the manual work, and especially the documentation around the workflow, because the the thing is like, oh, I have in my mind. So if I have in my mind, I know how to do it, and there is no need like to write it. But you have to write it, because this kind of workflow or process, we can call like whatever you want, uh,
Mm.
has three output. Like for me, there is like the first output. You can optimize this process, so you need to think about it, and you can maybe externalize, because there is like some value, and you want like someone who wants to do that, but it's not you. And the third one is like, okay, you want to automate, because there is no added value for someone, like for specific people to do that. But if you want to think about these three output, you need to write it down and specific like your process, and understand what does it mean, this process.
Where do you write it down?
on on Notion. No, that, yeah, you can, so we play with Notion. We love Notion, and it's pretty efficient Notion for that. To But there is like a lot of tools. Like the thing is like you need to centralize your documentation, because your documentation is not just a documentation without a link. It's a foundation of your business or uh, uh, of your process. So you need to think how to find it back, how to research on this. So centralize is really important. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, moving on, your automations. So, this is the fun part. What
Yeah.
are your most common automations?
So I will present you like three automation. Don't hesitate if you have any question about that. And so I started my own business since last October. And as you know, when you're starting your business, you have a lot of calls.
Yeah, I
And
apologize for the crunching sound. It's the
It's a
dog here getting bribes. Sorry.
No worries. A lovely invitee, surprise invitee. Um, yeah, so when I studied, I had and I still have like a lot of meetings. So I choose like a meeting meeting scheduling tool, which is called cal.com. There is like a Calendly and stuff. So it was pretty efficient. So I was like pretty happy. But my CRM was on Notion. So it was like kind of bugs me like to copy and paste like the name, because I had like on the cal and I need to put it on the crm. So there is some crm they can do like all the thing. Like if you take Brevo, you can have like the scheduling stuff and add it like directly on the on your crm. But I didn't want to pay at this time like that much, because my business, it's a small one. So I use cal.com, it's free, and I use Notion as a CRM. So how I can link these two tools. This is like the external automation. There is like internal automation with Notion. We will see with Sanja, but external automation is like how we can connect Notion with other application through API, but I don't go that much. So my goal was pretty simple. When someone wants to meet, has to book like a meeting with me, the booking is created, and there is a Notion page creating directly on my Notion. So this is really simple, and when it's created, there is like everything about my Notion page is filled up by the cal.com, and I have like all the information when the meeting is coming.
Okay, so if I may just ask a question here. So, when a meeting is booked on call, Relay app is sending information about that meeting to your Notion. And there it creates another page in your calendar for meeting calendar, but it also connects to your contact, right?
Exactly. And and it creates like a Notion page. So it creates as well like a Notion page at this time. So I know I have like my Google Meet and the Notion page at the same time. So I don't
Okay.
forget anything.
So if you already have that contact in your Notion database, it's automatically connected. And probably if you don't, then creates a new contact.
Exactly. That's why there
Okay,
is like
cool,
there is
cool,
there is
nice.
two paths. There is like one path for if the
Mhm.
contact is already linked in Notion, and if they are not, we created a new one.
Yeah, I was doing a similar thing with Relay app, but for emails. I don't have it here, but it worked very similarly here when a new email was tagged with some label that was called, I called it forward to Notion or something like that. Then it went into my Notion, into the sales pipeline. It also looked whether that email from the sender is already there, and then it connected it to the person. If not, it also created a new contact, and message was also inputted into Notion. So
Yeah,
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. There is like a lot of things. It depends on your process. It depends of what you want, what you need. So yeah, and just to have like a quick like a quick introduction, like on the Relay app. Relay app is like a tool, and there is a lot of tools, and we will see like other tool. And Relay app is really simple. So
Yeah.
it's like Zapier. Even I think ever easier than Zapier. So
I
if you
think
want,
it's way easier than
yeah,
Zapier from my experience, and definitely something that I would recommend. I just added a screenshot from LinkedIn here. Jacob Bank, he's actually the founder of the Relay app that we are just talking about. And I would warmly recommend to anyone to follow him on LinkedIn, to join the free sessions that he's organizing on how to build some automations, because I think if you want to learn about automations with third party apps, he's really the person that can give you a lot of knowledge in that area.
yeah, true. And we might forget something like maybe essential, like automation is two thing, is a trigger. That's why I put it like always like a trigger. What is the trigger? And the output, like what is like the output of this trigger. And between you can have like several action, and you can have like as many action that you want. But this is
Yeah.
like the structure of automation. So
Yeah.
always
And
asking what is my trigger and what is my output.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. We have to be triggered there.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you also listed some other automations. Can you please
Yeah.
explain?
So after my call, so I have like an AI, which is called Fathom. Maybe you know, maybe like
Mhm.
now there is a lot, and I don't know if you've seen like. I'm sure Sanja, you already seen, but people that are following us, Notion just released like a new features about this kind of thing, like AI, and you can just record anything of your computer. So it's kind of the same thing. Fathom is connected on your Google Meet and is like a companion, AI companion. So it will listen everything that you're talking, and it will create like a recap. So the thing is create a recap for me, but it was not that efficient for me because I took like the recap, I put it on ChatGPT, and I had like another prompt to extract like action and the recap, like a specific recap depending on the call. So if it's like a sales call, it's a different plan action, and if it's like a ongoing call with my team, it's like a different thing. So I really wanted to do that because it was like copy paste all the time, and it took me maybe 30 minutes to do that, and it was not really efficient. So what I did with Zapier, so it's another one, is like connecting Fathom. So when the meeting is finished, Fathom did the transcription, and they send it directly to Claude. So Anthropics, it was not ChatGPT, so I changed it to Claude, and Claude has a specific prompt that we will extract all the detail of the transcription, and creating like a to do for everyone, and depending on the context of the call. So if it's a sales, if it's someone that I know, and everything. And after that, it will generate like a summary directly on my Google, on the draft Google, and I can just read again and correct some different thing, and I can send it. And I spend now like less than 2 to 3 minutes to do that versus
Cool,
30 minutes.
cool, cool. Now that you already mentioned it, just to show it here, the meeting notes in Notion actually. So this here is just an example of a template for a meeting where, okay, here we have some of the main properties, and here we have the agenda, and then just a button to add new items to the agenda. And below you can see, honestly, I'm not sure whether you can see my mouse on the screen or not. But here at the bottom, you can see AI meeting notes. And this is a new feature. So you can be in Notion in any page. So you can add this block, turn it on, and of course, if you have the consent of all the participants in the meeting, Notion will listen to that meeting and will then create a summary and a transcription for it. I did test it now in past few weeks, and I think it's really great to have it there inside, that you don't have to pull that information from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty efficient, and I just implemented like in my clients right now, because sometimes you have like your task and you just want to talk as well, and you don't want to write everything. So sometimes they have the task and they just launch like this thing, and they can just talk like what they need to do. And so this is not only a AI companion for like a Google Meet or like a meeting, but it could you be useful for you when you are thinking and you want like you to talk, if you are like alone and you want like to think like freely, not like writing. So I think it's really useful, this kind of features.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to also adding this to all the clients' workspaces. So they finally have it all in one space.
Yeah.
Okay, so did we miss anything here?
I don't think so. I think yeah, I just forget it. Like it's updating, like the mail is updating on the Notion as well. So I have like
Mhm.
all the trackability on the Notion page, because Notion is like my second brain, or my first brain maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just to say hi also to Corinne who is watching, and if anyone else is watching, I did hide the chat for the moment so that you can actually see what we have prepared here. But still watching, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so next, you also prepared an example of your client portal. Now, that's a big thing, and I do want to know more about it. What is it? Explain it to me like I've never used Notion before.
So, as you know, Notion has some limitation. So Notion has a specific functionality, like a specific feature. It's called database. So you can create like database. Today, if you want to share like a specific view of the database, you share all the database. So it's a critical it can be like tricky, because sometimes you have like a universal database for the task, and this database task is linked to different customer, and sometimes you want to share like this task to your customer, to your specific customer, but you don't want like you don't want like your customer can show like all your task, and so this is like a huge limitation right now with Notion.
Mhm.
So what I did, so it took me like a long time, but I will try like to explain you like really easily. So I create like a mirror of my database, on my Notion database task. And when I click on a webhook, and and the webhook sent to make, and it will do like three things: creating like the task if there is like no task, updating the task if we need like to update the task and it already exists, or
Mhm.
deleting the task because I don't want like this task anymore.
Mhm.
um, and this is like the three path. So this is what I did. It could be a little bit tricky because there is like a different database linked to the link to the database, so it's a tricky it's a tricky configuration, but it works, and you can have like a secure client portal with this scenario. Um, but yeah.
I'm wondering, I've built something similar in Notion with Notion native automations that I basically have synced databases. But the problem that I have there is that it is limited only to the properties that I actually add to the automation. Now, how does this work? Does it also sync the content that is within the page body?
Yes, it's
Okay,
linked.
so
So
that's good.
so that's good because if the customer like had like some different thing, you can have like this thing directly on your task, and you know it's like from the customer, and there is like all the comment, the comment section of the Notion,
Yeah.
um, like the clients cannot see that, so you can just say and talk to your team like internally, can you move, or can you speed up this task because it's really important. Like the clients will never see this comment. So yeah.
Okay. And this is done with Make, right?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
another tool called Make, and it's pretty useful. Make, and yeah, and there is a lot of capabilities with Make, so it's really
Yeah.
interesting.
I have been using Make before actually I started using Relay, but now kind of how do you choose which third party app to use?
So that's a good question. That's a really good question. So I'm trying like to rationalize my automation. So now I'm trying like to transfer everything on N8N, because I just bought like a server on N8N. So I have a serverless N8N. So I'm not dependent. Um, what I do, like, I try with a tool that they have like the API. So if it's Zapier, if it's Relay.app, or if it's Make, I try it and I see if it's the process working pretty well. So after that, I'm trying to think about the trigger, because you can have like different trigger, like a time trigger. So every day it will trigger. This kind of trigger is not really good because like all these tools, you pay about like the trigger of your automation. So you need to be careful because it could be like really like
Yeah, it can get expensive. Yeah.
if it's like trigger like every hours, it's like it costs something. So this is something that you need to think, after you build like your first scenario, to think about, okay, how I can optimize, because it could be like a nightmare to have like a scenario that works pretty well, but it's really expensive, and you are not in the same ratio on expensive and of the money. So this is the second thing I'm thinking, and after I'm trying like to host my automation on my serverless N8N now.
That's also one of the reasons, basically, that I try to do as much as possible in Notion with the native automations, because it's easier to manage if you don't have to check somewhere else what's working. And also, you don't have to think about the cost. I mean, this is included in the package that you're already paying. I have to apologize, and the time has come to give a so
He knows how to talk.
yeah, here we go. Okay. So
But
yeah, sorry, you wanted to say something.
yeah, you absolutely right about Notion. If you use Notion, or if you use like ClickUp, or if you use any tool like Inside, there is some inside automation. Try to automate everything that you can with like the inside of the automation. That's and there is a lot of capabilities now with Notion. So try to think about that first. You're right.
So maybe a good time to start showing examples also of Notion native automations. When we are talking about Notion automations, I would kind of split them into three groups. We have like database automations, we have database buttons, and we also have page buttons. Did I miss something important here?
I don't think so, but unlike no, I think they're pretty.
Okay, so for anyone who is not familiar with Notion automations, I circled the icon here just to show you where you can actually find the automations in a database in Notion. So this lightning bolt, this symbol is where you actually go inside to create a new automation for that database that you're in. And this here is something that we call actually database automations because it's on a database. And when you actually create it, this is how it looks, and then you can go inside to edit it. And this here is how database buttons work. So the difference between a database automation and a database button, the main difference is that the first one is watching the whole database. And the database button is only being triggered when you actually click on it on that row. So here you have a little bit more control, basically. So you can set up the automation that will be run, but you have to trigger it here manually by clicking on that button. So, for example, here I have a scorecard for the company, and we have some yearly goals. And those yearly goals are being tracked on a weekly basis to enter a new score that is then automatically related to the yearly score. So you have to create a new page, but you can easily just do it by clicking here on a button, just entering the score, and that's it. And then automation does everything else in the background to connect that. And we also have page buttons. So this is not so much dependent on a database, even though inside of that button you can actually add some of the actions that will perform some actions in a database that you choose, but it doesn't have to be. So it can be placed anywhere on any page. It can be within the homepage. So these are, for example, if you have like a company homepage, these are some examples of buttons that you can create there just to help your team, quickly do some of the stuff that they are frequently doing. Or it can be also within a page. For example, I showed there the meetings template. So just a button that will help you create the agenda. Nothing much. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. Do you
Yeah.
have an example, maybe, of
Yes.
some other often used buttons?
Yeah, I can even share my screen if it's all right. I don't.
Okay, try.
Let's try. Tell me if it works.
Let me see.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is like I will show you like a different way to use like this trigger. So this is my database like task. I use like this and the Notion calendar, but
Mhm.
I can reset like all my task overdue directly with this button. Like this button will directly reset to the next Sunday. So it's pretty useful because sometimes you have like a lot of overdue task and it's
Mhm.
bad,
Yeah.
because you didn't. But you don't want like to click on all each task. You just want to do like, okay, every task before I want to go to reset to next Sunday. So this kind of small automation, it's really efficient, and it's really like um, yeah, efficient for you and your everyday life. So, and you can do the same for today. So I
Mhm.
can just click in this, and all my overdue task will do on today. I will not do that because there, but I can
You do.
click. Yeah, I have some tasks. But here, automation Sanja, I put it like on 11, and I can just click on today. And as you can see, it will come directly on today on the
Okay.
for me. So I have like two different things, like on the row, as you explained it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I have some different button that I can control my whole database for practicity. So this is one of the thing. It's pretty efficient.
Cool. Nice. I would also like to show some of the simple database automation. So, automation doesn't have to be complicated. So, here is an example of a database automation when somebody in we are in a tasks database, and when somebody sets the status to complete, so this task is done, then what the automation does, it takes the date when this happened and enters that date into the completed on property. So you don't have to actually add a date when you completed something.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And I see there is like some people like who are following us, like they are they are like building like Notion for companies and stuff. So this is really helpful, like for people who will interact with Notion, and they don't want to click. They will not spend like hours and hours on Notion that we have and that we did, and they want like a easy application, like for task management, for project management. So they need to have like like two three buttons on the page, and that's all, and they know how to create a project, close a project or close a task, and it has to be like really simple. And this is like automation can do, like
Yeah.
like something simple.
Yeah, it's super. This one really is very simple, but it makes a difference in the end. Then also another one that I also think it's simple. This is an example often for home pages of companies. We have some news that we want to display there, but not everyone reads that news at the same time. So, what I have done here, I added a button on this news that is displayed here. So, whenever somebody actually wants to move that news from the homepage, they don't want to see it there anymore, they just click on the button mark as read. What happens then? Their Notion ID is being added to a property inside of the news database, marking that this person has read this. But then this takes effect because we use the filter in the home page to only show this news to the people who still haven't read it. So it's a nice thing that you just click on it and it goes away. Of course, you can still find it in the main database for news if you need it sometimes in the future, but it's a nice feature just to mark something as read.
That's great. Sanja, I have like another automation I can show
Sure,
on
sure,
Notion.
please do.
Yeah, I will show you. So I will show you my kind my s- my process like for a new customer, and I can show you like a new way to use automation inside of Notion as well. Is like sending mail, because with Notion you can connect your Gmail and sending emails. So for me, I have like a specific onboarding when
Mhm.
I have like all the information, and I can send like directly the onboarding link to this customer, so with the mail contact. So I just need to click on this button and it will send like the my onboarding mail with a link with the survey and everything on this thing. So this is pretty
Nice.
useful when you have like different, thing to send to your customer, like maybe a survey, maybe a report, maybe a specific thing that you have like in your process, like onboarding. So yes, so it's a great tool to use, like this connection with the Gmail to automate your email.
I just pulled up a comment from Marion
Yeah,
that sometimes easier is better, no need to overcomplicate things. I definitely agree. I mean, sometimes we do complicated things. Not everything is simple. But you have to decide, when to actually invest all that time into creating something complex. It has to be then really important and it has to really make a difference. But a lot of things can be done also with the simple things.
yeah, true.
Another example of, of something I also consider simple here. So we in Notion we have different processes where sometimes your manager needs to review something before you can either publish it or send it to a client or something like that. So it can be an offer that needs to be reviewed by a manager. It can be content for maybe social media, LinkedIn, whatever that needs to be approved before it's published. So, what I have set here is basically an automation that when you, as the author of that content, change the status to review, then automation is looking up who is the manager on this project, on this client, or whatever we connected this to. And then this manager is being pulled from there and is being added also to the assigned property and is being notified that now he or she needs to review this before it can take to another step. So
That,
that's connected also to notifications, but I think it's something that's really often used and very useful from my experience.
yeah, true. And we are talking about connection, and there is like a native connection with Slack as well, so you can automate some messages. So it could be also useful to use this kind of notification.
Yeah, definitely. And also, as much as I've heard, now Slack is also getting some upgrades in terms of automation. So I must say that, do you know the details about that? I haven't really looked into it, to be honest.
No, I didn't. I didn't look it. I know like a couple of years ago, I created some small application on Slack. When you have like a new material, like a new computer that you need to log in for the IT department or something like that. So you could like do some different automation, but I didn't deep dive that much.
Yeah, there are so many new features being released constantly, and now especially, it's really hard to keep track of everything. And for anyone who is maybe feeling overwhelmed, please just know that we all feel like that. So,
That's
even
true.
as a consultant working with Notion every day with multiple clients and everything, there's still so much that you just cannot know everything here. You know as much as you need to know, basically. So, when the need comes, then you learn something.
Yeah. I have something like to show you. Uh, as I can see, there is like a lot of French people, so I will show you like a website, but maybe you will understand. Is Savolku, is that worth it? And it's so there is like a question you asked me like before, is like, how do you know if it's like this automation is worth it or not? You can use like this tool. It's pretty simple. It's like, how many this automation you will gain, um,
Mhm.
how, what is the frequency of this process. So here is like a 7 days per 7 times per day. It took me like 1 minute, and an horizon of 1 year, you can gain like 42 hours. So
Mhm.
the rentability, yeah, it's like 30 minutes. If it's like your automation takes 30 minutes to do that, you will be worth it. So you can
Yeah.
use
This reminded me now of something from the past, before Notion and before everything. I used to work at a corporation, and I was there like a SAP super user. Not tech, but somebody who is, uh, a little bit above a normal user. And then I remember, we were entering orders and all the stuff into SAP every day. And the department was big. And one day I just said, every day we go inside and we have to click the same buttons for each order. Why don't we just make them default? And then I calculated that, how many people do we have here? How many buttons? How many seconds? It may seem, like, okay, this is just a second. Yeah, it is just a second for one click, but when you calculate it for all the people, for all the orders, for all the clicks, in the end, it turned out that we were saving a couple of weeks
Yeah,
on a yearly basis.
that's
Just,
crazy.
by making a couple of buttons default. So
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think there is one question by Chloe. Are there any
Yeah, let me show it. Are there any resources like blogs, books, templates that could be useful for people interested in uh, adding automation and Notion? I already mentioned the founder of Relay.app, Jacob Bank. So I'll show it again so you can see the name here. So if you follow him, I'm sure. And I mean, you don't have to actually use Relay app to learn something from him. You can also learn about the logic. And then if you don't like his app, you can apply the main logic on how automation works also somewhere else, or you can use his app. And I also prepared here. You can find here one free template. The link is below. This is a two-way database sync. I created a template for, and it's on my Notion marketplace. And inside of that, you will find a tutorial on how to actually do that. There are different templates also that are free on my profile, but of others as well. And what I would recommend is, when you need something specific, you go there, just duplicate those free templates and start searching inside of them. Go look in the automation menu, and uh, just look how it was done. And who would you also recommend, Sylvain, for
Yeah,
learning about automations?
yeah. For automation, I think you can watch like different like YouTube channel. There is one that I like, Dimitri. I think I sent
Oh,
it
I
to
have
you.
it. I have
Um,
it. Yeah, I will
is a
show
is a
it
really good
now.
one. It might be kind of technical, but
Hmm.
depends on your level of automation and your needs. I think everybody needs to understand what is like the principle of automation, because automation can be useful for every step of your life. So you need to think about it and say, oh, maybe it might be useful like to do that. And it doesn't matter if you don't know how to do that, because you will find some people they can do that. So the thing is like, okay, I know what to do. I know my process, I know the step, I know the output, I know the input. So now I can find someone who can help to do that. And this is like the logic that you need to have, like um trying like to find the way to improve like your system, your life, and trying to automate and understand the automation with the basic rules that we just talk about it during this meeting.
I 100% agree. I would also say, don't rush it, understand it, be be confident about it. And then, of course, you can play around with it in some test workspace with some test databases. That's perfectly fine. You have to try it to see how it actually works before you do it on a real database with your clients, with your tasks, or anything else. I always do it like this. For example, when I'm creating some automation for a client, I never go directly there to test it, but I first do it in my own workspace on a similar example just to see, how it behaves, and to make sure that I don't mess something up, because you can.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, you have to think a lot ahead, to think about all the possible scenarios that we usually don't think about. Because when you're doing the manual work, you don't have to think, oh, what will happen, I don't know, 5 steps ahead. I mean, sometimes you have to think about it, but not that intensely as when you're actually automating something. Then you really have to think about all the options, what could happen, uh, who could click this, when, what happens if nobody clicks it, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, the step by step is like essential. And if you don't
Yes.
know how to start, the best thing to start is like at the end of your day, write like everything you did. Like do it like for 1 week, and you will see like your task, that your repetitive task you did. And at this time you can think about, okay, do I really want like to automate? Do I really want like to spend time on this because it's worth it and I can gain some new time to do something else? And this is like your choice at the end of the day, but you can start with that, I think.
Yeah, that's the same philosophy as with delegation, basically.
Yeah.
So write down what you're doing, and then analyze it, and then just move something to somebody else's plate. It can be a human, it can be a machine.
True.
Anything to add before we finish up? I would just like to thank everyone who was watching here. I hope that we showed something that you will be able to use in your either life or business, whatever. But I really appreciate all the comments that came in today here.
Yeah, thank you again, Sanja, for the invitation. It was really great. It was my first time, as I said. So
You're a
it was.
natural. I already said this to you just before we started. I mean, I do get nervous before we go live. I'm not a natural in front of the camera. It doesn't come easy to me. But I'm glad to be the first one to invite you to a live show. And now maybe this is your next career.
We'll see. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Sanja.
Thank you. Sylvain, if people would like to connect with you on LinkedIn, is that okay?
Yeah, obviously you can just connect. If you have any question, you can just send me some on LinkedIn. I'm pretty open, and I'm trying like to help like anyone who needs. So don't hesitate. Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone, if you would like to connect with Sylvain, you can on LinkedIn. You can also connect with me if we still haven't connected there. Again, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Sylvain, for your wonderful examples. I learned something today as well. And until next time, wishing a nice day to everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.